Good evening. In light of the sermon that Brad preached on Sunday about a spiritual realm that is around us, an invisible spiritual realm that is around us, I thought I would talk today about something that you know about in Ecclesiastes. Solomon, one of the richest, most powerful, wisest man to be alive at the time of his life, and some will argue even more than people living today. He wrote basically about the meaningless of life and how he invested all of his time and attention into wisdom, into accomplishments, into accumulation, into pleasures, all of these things that he wanted to do to find meaning in them. And he basically penned these words, and he said, the eyes never want to stop seeing. The mouth never wants to stop tasting. The ears never want to stop hearing. Our bodies are designed to function in this world, and by that, it creates a consumption mentality. And he said, but in that, there is nothing that is lasting in meaningfulness. And so I got to thinking about that this week. Number one, because I've lost an uncle. My mom's brother passed away a couple weeks ago. He basically has had Alzheimer's or dementia over the last several years, and his life has been deteriorating for a long time. But his eyes weren't hearing anymore. His ears weren't hearing anymore. But that doesn't mean that he wasn't worth anything anymore. And so the struggle here is, how do we find meaning in life when life is meaningless? And it's not about the stuff. Right now I'm sitting in a collection of things that have been donated to the church so that we can sell them on Facebook, so that we could raise some money for our high school summer trip. And it's been going very well, and appreciative of that. But this donation collection that we have received actually came from Tony Anderson. And her life ended last fall, and she donated these things to us so that we could use them to raise this money. But again, I think about the meaninglessness of this stuff. A lifetime of her buying and collecting and accumulating of these things. And in the end, what did it help her? It really didn't. Now, her life has meaning. Yes, it does. But it wasn't tied to this stuff. It wasn't about this stuff. Her meaningfulness was tied to God and to the relationship that she had with him. And so with that, I want to remind you guys, remember, we are physical. We have our faculties to function in this world. But we are also very spiritual. We are a spiritual being. And we need to realize that we need to always be mindful of that in the midst of this chaos, in the midst of these pandemics, in the midst of these trials, in the midst of these successes, and in the midst of these accumulation of all the stuff around us, that this stuff does not give credibility to our life. This stuff and this accumulation of things does not give us meaning. It is far beyond that. It is in God that we find truth, and it is in God that we find meaning. And that's why in Matthew, he says these words, do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust will destroy, but store up for yourselves treasure in heaven, where moth and rust cannot destroy. Because our treasure, the one thing that we can find satisfaction in, is not in the stuff of the world, but it is in the God who created the stuff of this world. You guys have a good week, but always remember, in whatever goodness we find in this world, it started with God, it will end with God, but it only has meaning when it is connected to God. Good night.